Hey guys, what is up? It's your girl, Grace Tori, and I am back with a whole new podcast episode. Today we are trying to find the craziest updates on Reddit. So if you love an update, love a conclusion, but you also love to hear the tea on Reddit, I'm your girl. Before I jump in, if you haven't already, why aren't you following, subscribing, all the things? What's going on with that, bestie? All of that is totally free. It takes less than a second of your time. Unless you're commenting, then it might take like 2 seconds. And it helps me reach my dreams. You would be like my favorite person on the planet. It would be so, so cool. So rad. So yeah, I would really appreciate that. We are all nosy bystanders. This is your side of the internet. One more thing before I jump in. If you're able to, don't forget to comment your thoughts on the stories because I'm giving you my opinion. So it's only fair you give me yours. And we can chat about it. I love talking to you guys, hearing your takes. I may miss something. I try not to go on too long with each story. So there could be takes that I've left out that I just felt like weren't as important. So I want to hear your thoughts for sure. Okay, finally, let's jump on into today's episode. I'm Grace Tori, and you're listening to That Girl, the podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in, because the new episode is starting now. I, 29 female, am pregnant with twins. My fiance, 26 male, wants to give them stupid names. I will link all of these in the description, as per usual, if you guys want to go check them out. But let's go ahead and dive in. I'll keep this short. I'm having twin boys. My fiance and I agreed that I would pick their first names and he would pick the middle names. I picked two cute, normal names that I thought would go well with his last name. He picked Batman and Spider-Man. He's completely serious. He says these are the names he's always planned to give his children, and he thinks that any little boy would love to have the middle name of a superhero. My question is twofold. How bad would it be if our sons had stupid middle names? Would it be something they resent? Is it worth an argument? I definitely think he's being an idiot, but should I just get over it or should I try to stop this? When you said first names and middle names, I immediately was like, oh, there's a plan. There's a reason why he agreed to that. Also, like, I'm not saying he can't pick the names, but for you not to have a say at all, I wouldn't be able to do that. Not that I don't trust him, it's just that I would still want to say. So I think that Batman and Spider-Man would be fun until they're like 8, and then they're going to get probably bullied for it. And then when they're adults, like imagine they're lawyers. And I know you don't have to include your middle name in like anything when you're an adult, really. But imagine, like, on their driver's license. Do you have your middle name on your driver's license? I'm just thinking of, like, really, really serious documents and then just their middle name. I feel like they would probably be pretty annoyed with you guys and change it. Just, it'd be fun for, like, 5 years. But if they're gonna be living, like, 90 years, maybe we hold off. There are some relevant comments. Why are you marrying and raising children with a 12-year-old? I'm joking, but really. He is aware that these are going to be living, breathing human beings, right? That will grow into teens and adults with a ridiculous name, or may not even like superheroes. Naming them after superheroes is actually probably the best way to ensure they hate all things superhero related. So there's a hobby interest they'll never enjoy sharing with dad. Can you guys maybe get a cat or a dog or like a fish or something that he can name whatever he likes and go through picking first and middle names together? While you both deserve to have input in naming your children, your future children deserve to be treated like actual humans who will have an actual life. You can even call the kids Spidey and Batman as nicknames if you want. You can even give the kids Bruce Wayne, Peter Parker as middle names. But this is something I'd definitely be putting my foot down about. Yeah, I 100% agree. My boyfriend has a name that he wanted to name his son that we don't have. We don't have any kids. But I was against this name from the jump. Like, we had that conversation early on. Like, what do you want to name your kids? Ooh. And I was just like, I can't do it. So when we got our dog, the one that you can kind of see in the frame, if you're watching. Oh, nope. Now he's definitely jumping up here. So you can definitely see this one. I convinced him to name the dog that name. Nothing against the name. I just didn't want to name my son that name. Beautiful name, but not in my wheelhouse. Yeah, those are great names for guinea pigs. Maybe get them each a guinea pig and they can have Batman and Spider-Man and you can teach them responsibility, obviously when they're a little bit older, but that way they can learn how to take care of something and you can still scratch that itch. I do agree. The more that you try and force a hobby on someone, usually the more likely they're going to push away from it in terms of like your children. I am someone who, if someone tells me to do something, I'm probably going to do the opposite. I'm just really stubborn. So if my mom made my middle name like Polly Pocket or something, I probably would hate Polly Pocket. I would also associate all of the negative things with that. Like, if I were to get made fun of or teased, or I, as an adult, like, couldn't be taken seriously because of my middle name, I would resent Polly Pocket. OP did respond and say, "Thanks, I will definitely put my foot down on the issue. Peter and Bruce is a good suggestion. I think he's just not thinking this through, to be honest." Agreed. We have a bunny named Bruce. I let Josh name one of our bunnies that we found on Christmas, and he named it Bruce Willis. So, yeah, multifaceted. They did respond to that and say, hell, he can even give one child the middle name Peter and the other Parker, or the same for Bruce Wayne. That way, with their powers combined, they are the super twins and can still fight crime. So there is an update from the next day. Let's go ahead and read that one. The original post was locked, so I'm updating here. I was surprised how strongly people felt in the comments. I have a very unusual middle name, non-English, and I've never used my middle name for anything, so I didn't think about it being used on resumes and such. I promise my fiance is not usually as stupid as this idea makes him sound. We talked about it, and I explained my reasoning and why these names would not be cute once they are adults. We agreed to compromise on Bruce and Peter. He still likes his idea, but I think he will be glad later that I made him change it. Good, good. I don't think people use middle names to the best of their ability. Like, my name's Grace Tori. Tori is not my last name. A lot of people were shocked to find that out. I didn't realize that when I went to college, a lot of people thought my last name was Tori and just, like, never followed up. So when I was at sorority stuff or things like that and they heard my name, they'd be like, who is that? Who's she? I don't know her. Literally me, guys. I'm just Hannah Montana. It's fine. But yeah, I think that middle names are really important and they're useful. They're really helpful to like give you more creativity when you're branding yourself, me speaking as an entrepreneur, but also, yeah, like resumes, safety, so that you can use that instead of like your last name. Like, there's a lot that you can do with it. And if your mom needs to yell at you, she's going to use your middle name. And how would that work if you were like, hey, Cole Batman, get over here? Like, that's not going to work. There are a couple final comments. The first one is about them having an unusual middle name. And it says, yeah, I think a lot of people from the original thread are completely unaware that this concept exists. OOP responded and said, relax. You and everyone else suggesting this was going to lead to divorce. My fiance and I are both pretty easygoing people. We aren't going to have a serious fight over middle names. If it meant that much to him, I probably would have just let him do it. Okay. I wasn't screaming divorce or leave him. That's not necessary here. Guys, not that serious. So this one says, out on a date, age 32, usual first date chatter. So what's your middle name? Middle name is Spider-Man. Panics. Overlord Thompson Smith. Anyone here saying middle names are never used and don't matter are silly. Oh, someone else said what I said. They said, if you don't give a kid a really good middle name, how will he know when you're super mad at him? Michael Peter Jones, you get in the house right now. Spider-Man would take the mad right out of your face. Exactly. Some of you have never been yelled at with your full name, and it shows. What did you think about that one? Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my girlfriend to have a free holiday with her ex? And this one was posted originally May 18th, 2025, but is also a best of Reddit updates. Surprise, they all are. I think I've said that like 5 times. So I've been dating my current girlfriend for about 9 months or so. Her ex-boyfriend that she broke up with about 6 months before we started dating has recently started talking to her again. Red flag. Like, okay, I don't want to say that you can't ever talk to your ex because as a like mature adult, I guess that you could. But why would you want to or like need to? Very rarely people stay friends after they break up. I don't feel partially comfortable about this as I believe he wants to get back with her, but they've only seen each other a few times in a group setting, so I haven't seen it as a big deal up until this point. Earlier today, she approached me saying that she needed to talk to me. She explained that her ex-boyfriend was offering a holiday with her to apologize for treating her badly in the past. Yeah, that's gonna be a no for me, dog. What? What do you mean? He's literally saying, like, I want to apologize. So he literally says, let's go on a trip where we're gonna rehash our relationship and I'm gonna beg for your forgiveness. Like, that's what I hear. He is offering to pay for the plane ticket, hotels, and everything. I talked with her and she agrees that she thinks he is trying to start something between them again, but they will stay in separate rooms, and a free holiday is an extremely good offer she doesn't want to turn down. I feel extremely mixed about this. I understand her wanting to go, but it makes me extremely uncomfortable and upset, as well as feeling disrespected. I am even contemplating ending things as it would make things easier for the both of us. What do I do? As a girly who is constantly teetering on being fully burnt out, a free vacation does sound really tempting, but I think that she should have approached this like that's actually ridiculous. Like she should have been like, nope, shut it down and been like, this is ridiculous. I honestly, maybe I just jumped the gun, but I don't like when my time is wasted. So I would quite literally break up over this. And maybe that's a little extreme, but I feel like if she was your person, she would have shut it down. Like, she wouldn't be entertaining it at all. And so I would be concerned because she isn't. Like, what is she actually thinking? Is she actually considering a future with you? I don't know. Maybe that's me being paranoid, but I would shut it down. Relevant comments. Not the a-hole. Tell him you're paying your own way to come on the trip with her. We'll see how quickly he changes his tune. Honestly, though, your girlfriend sucks for accepting it knowing he just wants her back. And then OOP responded and said, she told me I know what he thinks, but I'd make sure that kind of thing would never happen. We'd never stay in the same room, etc. This doesn't particularly reassure me, though. I mean, it's happened before. Like, she clearly finds him attracted, had feelings for him in the past. So the question is, once those are gone, will they stay gone? Because she has feelings for you, but you're on a romantic vacation with someone. Is that going to rekindle those feelings, you know? Someone asked if people are this naive in a relationship. And someone said, as someone who was in OP's girlfriend's shoes a few years ago and my boyfriend broke up with me shortly after, there are plenty of naive, dumb people out there. And at least for me, I didn't realize how bad I was until after. It's a learning experience. And when you're young, you might not realize what you're actually doing or saying until after the fact. How old are they? Okay, they didn't say their ages. That's true. Like, if you're 21 or younger, maybe even 22, I could see maybe being naive, but like, I don't I don't know. Even then, they did post an update 4 months later that says, thanks for all the advice, guys. I ended up talking to her about it and she cut off her ex and didn't go as he was doing other creepy behavior like liking all of her posts. But I still feel a bit conflicted as I feel like she should have never even thought about it. She isn't speaking to her ex or anyone associated with her ex anymore. After talking to her, she decided to block everyone associated with him. See, that was my train of thought, is like you're always going to think in the back of your head, why did she entertain that? I mean, maybe not always. Maybe there is a point way down the road where you just stop. But I don't know if I'd be able to ever get over that. I don't know. And I think that the top comment from Best Redditor agrees because I'm not convinced that someone who would even slightly entertain this idea is very trustworthy. Exactly. Like, I don't know. And if he did bad things to her, that means that they're not friends, I would assume. So they rekindled a friendship. So it's not like he was a part of her life and you came along after the fact that they were friends. Like, he showed up after screwing her over and then her moving on. So, not a fan. This next one is titled, I think my sister just ruined our dad's engagement to an amazing woman, and I hate her so much. So, the original post is from February 8th, 2026. I'm really angry right now at my stupid, entitled brat of a sister. I wish I could just type out how much I hate her right now. So, maybe this will help. There's so much I want to yell at her or just get off my chest, but we're at our grandparents' place and I can't lash out at her like she deserves, and she knows it too. I don't know how much of it is relevant, but here goes, hoping I'm less angry when I'm done. My family is me and my twin Sebastian, 16 male, and he's writing this with me. Our sister Lisa, 17 female, and our dad Sean, 41 male, and our former future stepmom Amy, 36 female. Fake names, obviously. Our mom died 9 years ago. Dad didn't date for 5 years, then briefly dated a disaster called Riley, then took another break from dating. He met Amy around 3 years ago, introduced us 2 years ago. We all moved together to a bigger house a year ago, and they got engaged 6 months ago. Before Riley was even in the picture, we weren't thrilled Dad had started dating again, but we went to therapy as a family to work through it. We made peace with it for the most part, but then Riley came and she was just the worst. She was rude, jealous of our mom's memory, gold digger, didn't like us. She was all around horrible. The three of us kind of made an agreement that we would not allow anyone to erase our mom, we would never allow anyone to adopt us, and we would be polite to keep our distance from whomever Dad dated. It felt like we were honoring our mom that way without stopping our dad from moving on. We also started calling the three of us and Dad the core four. Okay. I know everyone grieves differently, and you're also 16, so I'm keeping that in mind. I would have handled things a lot differently when I was 16 versus now being 26. So this is right on par with being 16, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that you are necessarily forgetting your mom's memory just because you are encouraging your dad to move on or just not actively fighting him on it. But I also can see where you're coming from. Getting to know Amy, though, and then moving in together, we'd done a 180 on that. Me and Seb more than Lisa. Amy's just good. She's crazy smart and nerdy, has like 3 degrees, one in psychology, which explains a lot, and we all play D&D together. She is successful, artistic, athletic, deadpan hilarious. She has an energy like when we're around family and they're all loud and crazy. She talks and people just shut up and listen. I don't know how best to describe that. Like, she is wise and kind and patient, but also an absolute Sigma BAB. I don't know what that means, and I fear that I'm too old to know. Like, is this what it's like to get old? She is cool to hang out with, and she loves our dad. She also sets him straight a lot. We kind of default to her as our neutral third party when there's a disagreement, and she's very good at navigating that. She's just really cool. Well, I'm glad that you guys have kind of changed your mind because, your dad deserves to be with someone. So I'm glad that everybody kind of agrees and gets along and things are going well. She's genuinely interested in our lives and hobbies. She has at least one thing with each of us. Seb and her do artsy stuff, and they both play tennis. She plays video games with me. She and Lisa read a lot and go book shopping like every few months. The house is filled with books. She is teaching Lisa how to drive. They are both K-pop fans, etc. I honestly think they clicked more quickly and naturally and vibe the best whenever Lisa allows it. Amy also never stops us talking about our mom. She respectfully encourages it. There's a few pictures of mom around the house still, and she's totally okay with that. Like, she is not threatened by mom's presence at all. She once helped Seb make a painting of a photo of the 5 of us: Dad, Mom, Lisa, me, and Seb, for our maternal granddad's birthday. Even my mom's family like her. My aunt, my mom's sister, and her have become good friends. She asked them and Dad about mom when we mentioned something we all used to do. We found out a few months ago that she also lost her dad when she was 12. I think that settled a lot of things for Lisa, who I know sometimes uses her mom to try to spite Amy. Though again, Amy would either kill her with kindness or just move on. Dad loves Amy and she makes him happy. Like, she is his balance in a way. They go so well together. Our dad is awesome, patient, smart, strict but kind, goofy sometimes. He has his own hangups, but he is slow to anger and always open to discuss anything with us. He doesn't yell at us much, but he is supportive and overall has been a great dad. She and Dad made it very clear she has absolutely no intention of replacing Mom, that she's a person of authority in the household without being a parent, and that she's open to whatever relationship we want to have with her, and it's a two-way street. She's never demanded or pushed for anything other than basic human-to-human respect and kindness. Now there's a huge essay that's titled Why Lisa Sucks, and I honestly respect that about you. I love that. While we are doing really well and getting along great, Lisa sometimes gets whiplash and randomly regresses to Riley time, especially after Amy and her spend time together having fun. It's like she's trying to rile Amy up to justify why she thinks Dad's dating is a bad idea. She snaps out random stuff just to bump heads, only it's not working very well because Amy's just not bumping. She isn't engaging Lisa when she's like this. She'll maybe set a boundary like, I will not engage with you when you act like this, and after that is completely uninterested in Lisa's outbursts and lets her dad handle it. It doesn't feel like it's out of spite, though. Best I can describe it is Amy's living her life legit happily and willingly, making offers and openings to all of us, Lisa included, without making a big deal out of it. When Lisa doesn't participate and or says something snarky or downright rude, Amy just shrugs and goes on with her life. If we ask her if she's upset or angry at Lisa for lashing out, She says she understands how Lisa must be feeling, that everyone is allowed a tantrum every once in a while, and that she knows Lisa is a good girl and she will come around on her own. And true enough, when Lisa then calms down and apologizes, with or without Dad's mediation, again, Amy doesn't make a big deal out of it and they pick up where they left off. As of right now, it just sounds like Lisa's being your typical 17-year-old that has been through some things and has a lot of emotions. So, is she like being nice? No. But do I also understand it? Yeah. For example, we were having dinner and Lisa was arguing with her and Dad and said she didn't want what Amy cooked because it smelled quote unquote disgusting and started insulting Amy's country where the dish was from, even though she usually loves it. Amy just said, suit yourself, like she could not care less, served the rest of us, and sat down and started eating and talking to Seb and I. Dad took Lisa to talk, and after they came back, he asked Amy if it would be okay for Lisa to still sit and eat with us. Amy said sure and continued chatting. Lisa apologized for her comments without Dad prompting her, and Amy just smiled, said thank you, and kept talking to Seb like nothing happened. When the conversation naturally drifted to something related to Lisa, Amy just spoke to her normally. The issue is, the very few times Amy does respond in kind, when she's tired or has had enough, nothing we say gets to her, like she stops caring. Like she gets suddenly quiet and throws something back at you, and you just never expect it, because overwhelmingly she's the calm and mature one when there's an issue. Seb calls this Saba, sneak attack by Amy. If I could pick one flaw of Amy, that would be it. She's just brutal sometimes when she's had enough, or something bad happens at work, and it just comes out of left field. She destroys you and doesn't even blink. It is immensely enjoyable to witness when she goes Saba on our behalf, but not so much when we trigger it. To clarify, Amy is like ridiculously patient 99% of the time and incredibly effective in managing conflict. She also can recognize when she's close to that line, so she either steps away or warns us, and we usually understand and back off. Then she follows up on her own, and she always thanks you for waiting to talk. If she goes too low when saboting, she always apologizes and makes amends. We are quite good at communicating as a family for the most part, thanks to her mostly, but once in a while, when we push and Amy goes there, it's not good. I know that it's not right, but I honestly feel Amy because I do the same thing. It's like you have a threshold and you just like allow everything to roll off your back, and it's gonna be big, small, whatever the thing is, it just rolls off your back, but it's still in the back of your mind. You're just like, no, it's fine. I'm not going to cause a problem. And then the littlest thing finally sets you off. And I have said some pretty mean things when I've hit that moment, usually to like my siblings or something. But I'm glad that Amy recognizes it and she gives you a warning, like she steps away. I try to do that too. It's something that I'm working on, and I'm glad that like she knows that it's an issue. Sometimes it's just snark. Like once I told her F you mid-fight, Amy just shrugged and said, your father does that enough. I'll let him know he has your blessing. Seb was yelling about a mispractice, his fault. She yawned mid-sentence and got up. He was like, WTF, where are you going? And she was like, I'm not interested in a baby throwing a tantrum. Okay, she sounds kind of savage. It's worse with Lisa because Lisa goes personal when she's angry. But when the Saba line is crossed, Amy just doesn't care. Lisa once asked, how does it feel to know you wouldn't be here if our mom was still alive? Amy thought about it and said, I'd probably be living my best life in the Bahamas with a rich European prince and no brats to bust my balls. So much better. Oh my God. Amy. Another time, Amy was having a pregnancy scare, and Lisa said something like, you'll never have children of your own. And Amy just said, I hope not. I like my blank, and so does your dad. And we're just going to leave that up to the imagination. It always shocks us when she goes Saba because she's usually kind, considerate, and patient. The core four have discussed all of this in therapy, and Lisa acknowledges she's just scared and angry at the idea of Amy replacing mom, though we all point out just how uninterested Amy is in that role. I personally don't feel like she would ever replace mom, and we joke sometimes about calling each other mother/son. When Lisa acts out, there are always consequences from dad, things are discussed in therapy, and for a while, everything is calm again. The therapist suggested we add Amy to our sessions once in a while, but Lisa is not open to that yet. Dad is also bringing up more often whether Lisa should get individual therapy, but she doesn't want to. Legit, Lisa and Amy get along so well when Lisa isn't behaving like this. Okay, so now that we've set the scene, the next portion is titled What Happened Yesterday. Yesterday, the three of us, Seb, I, and Lisa, spent time with our grandparents and cousins, helped them with the snow, then grabbed dinner, and came home late. Dad and Amy were talking about wedding stuff in the kitchen, and we overheard Dad discussing adoption very loosely, like if Amy would ever be up for it if we wanted to at some point as adults. Lisa immediately lost it, burst in, and started screaming at him about Mom, that she hates him, that he is only thinking with his, then turned to Amy, started insulting her, wished her dead, and said, I never want a blank like you to be my mom. Amy just very calmly said, what makes you think I would ever choose you to be my daughter? Oh, yeah, no, that's, oof. Yeah, that's crossing a line. But also, Lisa said it first, but also Lisa's 17. So, like, not that it's okay, but she is young and emotional. Whereas, like, Amy should have a little bit more control. And, like, the stuff she was saying before was savage, but, like, this is just that cut deep. That one hurt Lisa. Like, we could see the physical recoil. Dad took her up to her room and they talked for a long time. There were raised voices, then Lisa was crying, but couldn't tell what was being said. Amy stayed down, talking to us, clarifying the adoption conversation was entirely hypothetical. We asked her more questions. She was responding slowly and quietly. She didn't answer us when we asked about wedding prep or how she was feeling. She was shaking and trying to keep it together. I've never seen her like this. We were quiet for a bit. Then Seb told her what she said was a very low blow, and she smiled sadly and just said, maybe so. Oh, so she knows. She knows. When Dad came down, Amy got up in slow motion, put on her coat, gathered some stuff, and was out the door in like 2 minutes. Dad was almost crying, trying to get her to stay and talk. It was late, snowing, she was whispering, not tonight. I have to leave. Be there for your sons. I'm sorry. Over and over, and she started crying, and she got in her car and left. We sat down with Dad. He was a mess. He let us know Lisa would be getting individual therapy on top of family therapy, and it was non-negotiable. He asked us if we felt we needed individual therapy as well. Seb said no. I said I'm not sure right now. We tried to talk a bit about what happened. He asked how we were feeling, but he was a wreck, and they started tearing up, so we just hugged him, and he cried so hard. He cried so much. I've not seen my dad cry so hard since Mom died. He kept telling us it's okay, and he didn't want us to worry, but he was just crying, and I had no words. I just kept saying, I'm sorry, and Seb was telling him it'll be okay, and Amy will be back, and we will work it all out. But he kept saying, no, she won't. Not this time, she won't. He then started saying he was sorry, and asked if we knew he loved us, and then he asked if he had neglected us, if we felt he didn't love us enough after Amy moved in, if he was a good dad. I wanted to punch Lisa so hard at that moment for making him doubt that for even a second. As if moving on from our mom after almost a decade and landing someone he is genuinely happy with and who is a good person is a sin. Amy wasn't in the house today. Dad has red eyes and he looks like he's aged 10 years. He said good morning. I asked if Amy came home last night. He said no, but not to worry, and she is safe. He spoke very quietly, made us breakfast. When Lisa came down, he just gave her a look and turned around, didn't speak to her. She started crying, saying she's sorry, and went to hug him. He stepped back and told her, I don't want to hug you right now. And his voice was just shattered. She just lost it and kept crying and apologizing, kept saying she really likes Amy and she wants them to get married and for him to be happy. She said he loves him and kept asking if he still loves her, and Dad said, I will always love you as my daughter, but I don't love you as Lisa right now. Dude, after what Amy said yesterday, for him to say that, I don't know, that must not feel great, because both of them are like, I don't want you in my life, basically. I don't want you, basically, is how I would have taken that. I think that's the harshest thing he ever said to any of us. I didn't think he had it in him. I'm glad he said it. I'm happy Lisa kept crying. She deserves it. We are back with our grandparents. Dad said he's trying to get Amy to come to the house and talk in person. We haven't told our grandparents all the details, nor do they know all the vile things that Lisa says to Amy, because I know they will be so disappointed in her. I hate her right now. She's pretending to read in the corner, but she flips a page every 10 minutes. God, I want to yell at her so bad. I tear her a new one and let her have it. I'm practically vibrating. If she ruins this for Dad, for all of us, I hate her so much right now. That's it. I don't feel better. I think that you should give Lisa grace. I know she's saying some awful things, and I don't know the extent of those things, and I think that she should have been in individual therapy a long time ago. But I don't think that anyone in this situation is necessarily like the a-hole. I know that this isn't Am I the a-hole, it's from True Off My Chest, but everyone's broken. Everyone's hurting, and everyone's trying to cope with that in different ways. Even Amy is trying so hard, but you can only take so much when someone treats you poorly and says horrible things to you, and you can make excuses for them all day long, but that doesn't mean it hurts any less. So she could have been talking to your dad behind the scenes about Lisa, and it she just hit her breaking point and she can't do it anymore. And I mean, would you blame her? But also for Lisa, I think therapy will be the best thing for her. But I also don't necessarily fault her for hurting. I think that she doesn't have a way to grieve her mom that's like a positive outlet. She just hasn't been taught how to do that yet because you guys are all young and you're grieving in different ways. And I think that therapy will be a great way for her to learn how to do that without pushing people away or hurting them. Top comment says there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you wouldn't be privy to. For Amy to just leave you and your dad knowing why and doesn't think she'll be back means they've had a conversation in the past. You may never know why, and it may have something to do with Lisa, or that may have been the final straw or a combination. That's what I was thinking. Like, your dad knew. Your dad knew pretty immediately. So, I think there's a lot more going on. So there are a couple updates. The first one is from 4 days later, and I think my sister just ruined our dad's engagement. I'm not going to read it because it's really long, and I'm just going to read, like, the synopsises they added until we get to the big update. But it is like a little summary that they included, so I'll just read that for you guys on Best Forever. After the initial fallout with Amy, OOP explains that the family is shaken, but they know they need to address things more honestly. OOP and their brother confronted Lisa about her behavior while they were reaffirming they love her, and also realized that they themselves have been disrespectful to Amy and contributed to the tension. In family therapy, their dad emphasized he will always love them, but won't always like their actions. Lisa has agreed to individual therapy, though she isn't ready to fully discuss the incident yet. Amy has chosen to take space and may travel, remaining in low contact with their dad, who appears devastated and in fear that the relationship might be over. The family is giving each other space, making plans to regroup, and while nothing has been resolved yet, there are at least small steps toward accountability and potential repair. So that's another thing I was thinking is because Amy is such a nice person, she lets them push her boundaries and like just pushes it off. And her letting stuff roll off her back isn't necessarily her letting stuff roll off her back and not letting it bother her. She's just putting on a brave face because she, whatever reason, like she may come from a situation where she feels like she has to do that to get by. It could be from previous experiences. She could just have some people-pleasing tendencies. Or she could just be so genuinely nice she doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings until she snaps. I mean, it sucks, but it's going to work out the way it's meant to. And yeah, there's a couple more updates. There was a different post that OOP made that was relevant, and the summary is OOP and their family had a major falling out a month prior, which led to the dad's fiance, Amy, leaving. Currently, the family is in therapy as they are trying to make things right and apologize. OOP and their siblings are each creating really thoughtful, personalized gifts to go along with their apology letters, but struggling to come up with something meaningful to give Amy. Main things they bonded over were video games and teaching Amy Python. This is where OOP reached out to Reddit for advice. So they were trying to make something handmade, which is sweet. But let's get into the final update. It is super duper long, so buckle in, guys. This is over 3 weeks later, so March 30th, 2026. I think my sister did not just ruin our dad's engagement. I don't know why I can't post this in the True Off My Chest subreddit, so here goes. It's been a while, so this will be long. I kept notes and then rewrote this 5 times because new stuff kept coming up in therapy. It's almost in chronological order, but a lot of things were happening simultaneously, so this is the best I can do. First is family therapy, some assembly required. Amy thankfully did not move all her stuff out while we were away for the long weekend back in February. She did go to Europe for a few weeks and met with Dad on 2/26. First things first, we have a new family therapist, our old therapist supervisor. Enter Dr. Clara. We will call her Dr. Clutch because that woman knows her crap and saved us from losing Amy and destroying ourselves. She has been pushing, like, this is a thought. What is the emotion underneath? And how's your body feeling right now? Huh? And walk me through the thought process. And one of the conditions Amy set for her to even consider returning was for everyone to go to individual therapy on top of family therapy, not just Lisa. Dad discussed this with us, but made it clear he's pulling rank as our dad, so while this was a discussion, this also wasn't negotiable. To everyone's surprise, Lisa was immediately on board. More on that later. Well, Lisa was going to have to go either way, so I'm kind of not really surprised she was on board. One of the first things we did, Lisa, Seb, and I, was apologize to Dad for the Core 4 and Saba terms, especially the Core 4 because y'all were right that it closed us off from welcoming anyone he dated into the family, and we really didn't want Amy to feel like she has a place with us. I did think that. I agree. Well, the first gut punch was when he informed us that Amy is well aware of both terms. Sad took this news very hard, since apparently Saba is something Amy bonded with him about. Like, there's a tennis player, like, does sneak stacks, and they both love the guy. We told Seb it's not just his guilt to bear, it's on all of us. We're trying to not single out any of us three when we know collectively we all did F up things. But he was very embarrassed that Amy had found out about that. Dad let us know that Amy is considering a tentative reunion, if only to say goodbye and give us some souvenirs she bought while she was traveling. That kicked our butts into gear. We wanted to do something for her in return, on top of writing her apology letters, both ideas sanctioned by Dr. Clutch. I felt so guilty that even after the blowout, she was still thinking of us and buying us things, while I was just wallowing in self-pity and misery. So I jumped right on that, but not to put pressure on her to come back. Like, I had so much I wanted to say to her. I do like her very much, and I felt like I needed a physical representation of that. Plus, it felt really good to do something with my hands. Amy's suggestion whenever we feel tension. Dad gave her our apology letters a few weeks ago, and we're still working on our projects for her birthday in 2 weeks. Another thing that was thoroughly discussed and kind of, once again, showed us Amy is way, way nicer to us than we deserve is that Dad didn't actually know we had ever said F you to Amy till we told him during the long weekend back in February. He was furious with us back then, and we have discussed this in therapy a lot since. We still had arguments with her while he was around, but he didn't curse at her while he was in the house. Obviously, we weren't crazy, but we kind of assumed she would tell on us. But she never explicitly told him. She was just like, we had a fight, harsh words were exchanged, without going into detail on the words, only focusing on the reason for the fight. Surprisingly, she was sharing her retaliations, formerly known as Saba, and they had discussed them, but not ours. We thought he was just softer in his punishments as we grew older, when it turns out he was just working with incomplete data, but also because of a discussion they kept revisiting in couples therapy. And another reason that's Riley related. Apparently, Dad has been wanting to impose much harsher punishments on us every time we were fighting with Amy, to the extent that he knew, which he admitted wasn't that often, at least for me and Seb. Anyway, he wanted to be much more strict and lay down the law like he used to, but Amy begged him not to. She was always telling him we're just hurt kids, that it's normal to lash out from time to time, that her and us are getting closer, and the fights are getting less frequent and intense. Which was true, except Lisa's Riley flashbacks, though I hear you all that, yeah, it was a group F up from all three of us, so I won't split the three of us on this again, and that she could handle it. In their couples therapy, before she left, she had told him she was terrified we would connect his punishments to her presence and start treating her worse. He said he told her he had to be a dad and apply consequences to that behavior, but she worried that our bond with him would deteriorate if he did that, and we would blame her and resent her. Dad said it made sense then, but that was before he found out about the FUs and how bad it had gotten. Now he sees that was a mistake, and they are discussing this on their therapy. Dr. Clara said retroactive punishments rarely work, but he should tell us how he feels and set a new standard. Dad said he is very angry and disappointed in himself, Amy, and us. Himself, he took full responsibility that he should have picked up on the deterioration of our behavior with Amy much sooner. He appreciated how she brought better conflict and anger management skills to our family, breathing, coloring, journaling, instead of burning through it, but that when things spilled over, he should have not only been aware, but stepped up to apply appropriate consequences. He also admitted that Mom and her family always fought this way, but they were still a very loving and supportive family, especially after she died. So in that time, he kind of stopped seeing this as a huge deal. He dropped the ball on disciplining us, and he's fully determined to not let others influence him on this again, which also relates to something from Riley's time that I say below. Amy, they discussed this in their couples therapy when she came back. He was upset that she essentially lied about something that concerned his kids. He said he trusted her calming capacity, but that she should have been more honest with him and let him manage his relationship with us. She acknowledged this and apologized. She pointed out he didn't follow through with what she had asked of him, add her to family therapy and individual therapy for at least Lisa, as to not pressure us. So they are working out that trust and balance between them now. Amy had also told Dad that if Lisa ever had a blowout like that again, without being in individual therapy, she would leave us. Which explains why Dad had ramped up the efforts for Lisa to start therapy and why he was saying she won't be back this time. Us. He is very disappointed and worried that even if only during those few fights we responded to someone that is actually kind and loving with such hostility, we knew our words were unacceptable because we never said them to him. He said that regardless of whether Amy chooses to stay, he is first and foremost our dad, and while he will always have a discussion with us, this is now the new law of the house. On top of individual therapy, we will return to basics, like we keep acting like this overall, we lose phones, computers, car access, allowance, free time, do more chores, you name it. We ever swear or insult Amy again, we get shipped to our grandparents with the bare minimum until she decides she is okay with us returning. And we can bet our butts we're all getting part-time jobs because no one should be expected to support your hobbies when you say F you to them. True. Seb already found one at his tennis club. Lisa and I are still working on it. So we have been operating on this level of responsibility for the last month, and if I'm completely honest, I don't know. I feel calmer. Like, I feel more present in the house and with Dad. I know he don't mind the consequences because I feel like I don't really need to be angry anymore. Not sure how I feel about my therapist, but whatever Lisa's doing with hers is working a lot. Lisa, I don't really know how to say it. She just looks lighter. Not thinner, just like lighter. And she opened up to us a few weeks ago, though after another blowout. And well, it's bad, but in a good way? No, actually, it's just bad. But at least she's actually communicating now. Can I just say, you are a phenomenal writer. So keep that up if you're watching this. Love to see it. But let's read the next part that is titled The Ghost of Riley. So when discussing these new boundaries and consequences, Riley came up again, and Lisa opened up and revealed some new info, as did Dad. Because before Riley entered the picture while he was on his own, Dad was a pretty good dad. At least balanced, I guess, with his punishments and consequences. But whenever Lisa would fight with Riley, Riley quietly after laid on the guilt trip, saying how Riley would be our mom at some point and they would be the two most important women in Dad's life, and it makes him sad when she and Lisa fight. And does Lisa really want her dad to be unhappy? No. So if she complains too much and ruins Dad's chance at happiness, he'll get tired of her and hate her and ship her off to live with our grandparents. Yeah, that's terrible. From his side, Dad has always reassured us that he would always love us even if we were angry and lashing out, but there would still be a discussion and consequences. He was much stricter before Riley, but after her, it all went downhill because he felt so guilty for misjudging Riley and bringing her into our lives. Our greater family is also very loud and vocal on how huge of a mistake that woman was, especially Mom's family, who rightfully tore into Dad and piled on the guilt. Dakota, Mom's sister, was disgusted Dad replaced her sister with trash. And it all peaked when they calmly discussed, more like threatened, they would take us from Dad to live with them for our own good. So after he kicked Riley to the curb, he took a massive step back on how he treated us, how strict he was, how much discipline to apply, consequences, and the like. He admits he started letting us get away with more things, and the family also told him to back off and cut us some slack because we were now doubly traumatized. He didn't want to push it, he was also shook, and he overcorrected. Then Amy's request to not punish us too hard came in buttoned right on top of all of this. He said he will be working on this in therapy and will be way more vigilant around the family's influence on us. Because as much as he loves and wants to keep us in contact with Mom's family, they are very inappropriate when they fight, and we've all kind of normalized that. All right, so next we are going to get into adoption discussion and Amy's trauma. Another thing that was clarified was around the adoption discussion Dad and Amy had when we walked in on them. This was just one more Lisa jumped the gun, but we were all a-holes situation. I think I did mention that Amy is like proper rich with global income, etc. And she was okay to cover more of the household expenses and activities so Dad can save up more for our college funds. Anyway, the adoption discussion was part of a larger discussion they had about wills and inheritances, as one does, I suppose, when discussing marriage, and whether Amy having a U.S. will would hold in her country, how it would work for her international properties, what stuff would work better if created in her country versus having a U.S. document translated, etc. They were looking up whether, if something happened to her, who would get her stuff by different countries' laws, and she was saying, assuming things with us all improved and we were open to adult adoption, that it would be the easiest path to her money and houses staying in the family. Meaning me, Seb, and Lisa, which, yeah, thinking us as her family long term, that was another gut punch. This update is only shame and guilt, to be honest. They were discussing this possibility, whether Amy would be open to adopting us in the future in her country if it was just for the financial benefits and the emotional boost, etc. And that's when we walked in. Lisa flew off the handle because she misunderstood at first and thought that Dad and Amy were discussing adopting another child together, not us three. By the time they got a word in and told her they weren't discussing adopting another child, she was all fired up and started spewing the other BS, and well, you know the rest. That whole incident lasted no longer than a minute, but it was one brutal effing minute. Dad also shared a few details of what Amy's mom was like, especially after her dad died. I don't want to repeat too much, but trust me, it's vile. Like, I would take Riley over Amy's mom any day of the week. One thing that her mom told Amy, when she was my age, by the way, was that she should never have kids of her own because your anger is like venom. You destroy everything you love, and no child deserves you as a mother. Oh my, yeah. See, this is what I was thinking. Like, she has some sort of trauma that was making her act that way and put up with so much. Amy is working on her own trauma around this, but for the longest time, it was one of the reasons she didn't want to have biological children. Now she has more, but this was also a factor. So when she told Lisa, "Why would I ever choose you as a daughter?" it messed Amy up hard. Like, she had flashbacks of how awful her own mom was and how she grew up internalizing all of it. And she does not want to be that person, but it was scary to discover she had it in her to be that cruel. So she needed some time to work on that. When we laid this all down this Thursday, she said, "I now have to live with the knowledge I can go that low, and you have to live with that as well. And beware the wrath of a patient woman, I guess." That's so true. Like, patience runs out, and you better not be around when it does. Lisa's breakthrough, and something broke. After we all moved in together, Lisa would often make the point that Amy will eventually leave us like Mama Riley did. Our previous therapist never dug too deep on that. I remember most of the time the therapist was saying that Mom did not leave us. She would say if she had a chance, and Riley was not a reflection on us as kids, that we did nothing wrong and shouldn't feel guilty for a dad and Riley breaking up. When Amy left first therapy session, where Dr. Clutch was supervising our old therapist, Lisa brought this up again in an "see, I was right" context. But after the first few sessions with our own therapist, one of the things Dr. Clutch visited was around abandonment issues. Lisa shared how at first she interrupted Amy's calmness when we fought with her as indifference. Lisa shared how at first she interpreted Amy's calmness when we fought with her as indifference, that Amy didn't care because she was not reacting as volatile as Riley or Mom's family. That when the three of us were pushing boundaries, you have something to say? That when the three of us were pushing boundaries, she stayed calm, not because she was more mature and she could handle herself better, but because she wasn't really invested, like she wasn't in it for the long haul. We all kind of acknowledged that. Seb in particular related to that a lot, so we all dug a little deeper. Lisa verbalized it better than either of us, saying she thought the way Amy was quick to forgive and always treated us with kindness, tried to teach us stuff even when we were so mean to her. Oh my goodness, my dog wanted to give me some kisses. We get a kisses break. Was because nothing really got to her, that she didn't really want to be our stepmom, and we had one foot out the door. Dr. Clutch helped us unpack that, and we realized we kept pushing Amy to not only let out deeply rooted tension, but because we have normalized the dysfunctional behavior that Riley and our wider family shows when in conflict. And her not responding the same way made us both feel deeply safe and deeply unsafe. Apparently, we will be exploring vulnerability and secure attachment at some point, which for some reason makes me very nervous. Last but not least, and a very happy point in that session, Lisa said that she had wished Amy was no longer on this earth during a blowout because at least that way she wouldn't leave us by choice. She apologized to our dad for saying that, and she was very upset with herself that she said it in the first place. She was also getting an evaluation/diagnosis for PMDD, which dad said could help a lot with understanding herself and managing her symptoms. But that wasn't the worst of it. Shortly after we started individual therapy, we were just hanging out at the house together, discussing Mom and how different she was from Amy. I remembered you all told me in the first post that I shouldn't share that I want Amy as a mom, so I kind of mustered up the courage and started talking about that. I said I would be open to Amy being a mother figure, and I don't remember that much of Mom anyway, and I want her and Dad to be married, and if it ever came to being adopted, I would also be okay with that, adult or not. Lisa was looking at me with a most shocked face, and I could see the anger bubbling, but I didn't care. I wanted to say it. Seb agreed, and Dad said he appreciated us for being so open to this idea, but we would have to actively work on showing Amy she is welcome to that role if she chose to return. Well, Lisa absolutely lost it at that. She was screaming how this can't be happening to her, how me and Seb were lying to her all this time. I thought it was because of what I said. I mean, she was swearing at me and Seb and was saying we ruined everything, but also, it's too late now. Now you tell me. Which made no sense at the time. And then she kind of entered this panic state where she was just hyperventilating and saying, "I want Amy. I need to talk to Amy." She wouldn't really say more. Dad tried to calm her down, but it was not working. She asked to spend a few days at her best friend's house and at her grandparents', and next time we saw her, it was 4 days later in family therapy. Relevant context. One of Lisa's best friends is Paige, and she's dealing with a stepmother as well after her parents' divorce. In that family therapy session, Lisa said Paige has been having issues with her stepmother, always trying to interject herself in her life, trying really hard to mother her and get them to bond, trying to get Paige to see her as a mother figure, call her mom, etc. Paige complains a lot about this to Lisa. As Lisa was telling us all this, I honestly thought she would say she's pushing Amy away because that's what Paige does with her stepmom, like set boundaries and keep reminding Amy that she's not her mom. Act. that all her violent outbursts were so that Amy doesn't forget her place, I suppose. I was getting really upset because Amy absolutely does nothing of the sort, and I was ready to jump on that. And then Lisa threw the biggest curveball ever, because apparently she hates that Amy doesn't even try to replace her mom, like Paige's stepmom Natasha does. She hates that she's just there, like a friend and our dad's fiance, living her life with us without pushing to be a part of our family. She hates that Amy isn't demanding a motherly place in our lives and just lets things fall with their will. Apparently, she has felt so isolated in wanting Amy to be a mother figure when everyone else, us, grandparents, the wider family, Paige, even therapy, was focusing on how Amy doesn't push for this role and how glad we are that she's so respectful and she isn't obnoxious like Riley. That everyone was focusing on how good it is for Amy to not want to replace mom, but no one ever said it would be okay if she did. It made Lisa feel completely alone and ashamed in wanting to get closer to Amy like a mother-daughter, that we had always said family sticks together, and she would be betraying us, me and Seb, if she accepted Amy when we seemingly did not. That the guilt wasn't for allowing Amy to get close. Therapy had done a good job on that, but on wanting to take a step further when no one else seemed to. So whenever she felt she was moving Amy into mom's role, she got terrified she was going against all of us, that she was going back on what she had agreed. She then felt she had to push Amy away or we would be upset with her, that she would be the villain that doesn't have a problem with her mom being replaced, and you and the rest of the family would all hate me. First of all, Dakota, who, again, is the mom's sister. So she said she didn't want to get individual therapy. It would be humiliating if she was the only one to go. That it would be one more thing that reminded her that she's the problem, the odd one out. She also felt ashamed being almost an adult and how pathetic it is to still want a mommy at this age. That she is going to college soon, so it was now or never with Amy. But if she came forward with how she was feeling, she would risk alienating everyone else. A lot of reading. Words are slurring together. So when I said that I'm okay with Amy being her mom and Seb agreed, it completely threw off balance what she was trying to do. So when she thought Dad and Amy were discussing adopting another child, not us, it crushed her. When Amy told her, "Why would I choose you as my daughter?" it broke Lisa, like, completely. She kept asking, "Am I not good enough? Why doesn't she want to be my stepmom? Why isn't she trying like Riley was or Natasha is? What does Paige have that I don't? What is wrong with me?" And then she said, "I'm not feeling guilty. I'm feeling lonely and desperate." And well, that broke everyone. It was a lot. It was hard to watch, and it honestly felt like someone had punched me right in the middle of my chest. Lisa was crying and hyperventilating to the point she started dry heaving. Dad kept apologizing and hugging Lisa, like full on hugging her on his lap. I started crying too. We all ended up a sobbing mess. It was really the worst feeling in the world. It was heartbreaking to see her like this. I was really worried about her. I still don't quite know how to react to that. I feel so guilty and so angry at myself that I didn't say anything sooner. Maybe not the whole I am okay with Amy being a mom to me, which still hits weird, not gonna lie, but at least on the we don't have to honor the pact, we should like Amy and get as close to her as possible part. So now we are going to read the last section, which is titled Amy Returned, A New Hope. Amy came to the house this Thursday just to spend some time with us and talk. When Dad told us a few days earlier it was another sob fest in therapy, both him and Dr. Clutch tried to manage expectations, but I don't think either one of us really cared. Everyone was nervous. We discussed what we wanted to say, how we wanted to approach this with humility and love, how we didn't want to put too much on her to accept, but I don't think any of us felt ready or able to follow that. Lisa was absolutely vibrating. She couldn't stand still. She kept going from smiling and feeling happy to crying and being weird, to being angry at all of us for not having cleaned the house well enough. Sure enough, the plan went out the window in like 5 seconds. When Amy came through the door, I swear when she actually heard the keys in the door, Lisa just jumped up and ran to her and hugged her, and she broke down crying, apologizing, telling her she's sorry, telling her all of what she told us in therapy. She couldn't even hold herself up, so she and Amy ended up on the floor. Amy was holding Lisa and telling her she understands and they will figure it out. Dad came over and tried to calm Lisa, but she would just not let go of Amy, so we all ended up talking on the floor right next to the door. It would have been funny if we weren't all a sobbing mess. Most of what I wrote above was communicated to Amy. She told us about her traveling and her thoughts. She apologized for her missteps. We all apologized repeatedly. Dad, most of all of us. He also shared what we have been up to while she was away, progress in therapy, etc. We apologized for the core four. We apologized for Saba. We kept remembering things we wanted to apologize for. Lisa even apologized for ambushing her at the door like this, said she understood if Amy needs more time, and she tried to crawl away, but Amy just pulled her back into her arms. Lisa started crying again. It was really both heartwarming and heartbreaking. I don't know why, but none of us thought at any point to get up from the floor for a good 2 hours. I actually felt guilty when I had to get up to use the bathroom. The rest of the night was more or less normal. We had some dinner, I cooked, and we watched a movie. We tried to have some normalcy, I suppose. It felt tense, but Amy was talking to us. She wasn't quite as positive and calm, but for what we put her through, both in the past and that day, I'm just grateful she didn't do a U-turn and walk right out. Amy took us to spend one-on-one time this weekend. Dad and Seb yesterday. Lisa is out with her right now. Her and I went hiking this morning. We reached a viewpoint, and she took my apology letter, which she had not opened yet, and told me to read it to her. I immediately felt so awful I started crying. I understand Lisa so much more now. Like instantly. I don't think I've ever had a panic attack, but this felt like it. Amy helped me calm down, but she didn't pull back. She said if I can write it, I can say it, and she was very patient and smiling. I hadn't even started reading, and I was completely breaking down. It didn't feel this horrible when I wrote it, but reading it out loud to her, man, I don't understand what happened there. It hit me like a freight train and took me like 10 minutes to go through 3 pages. I'd already apologized for most of it on Thursday, but something about reading it out loud on top of a mountain, and it was just the two of us, just hit different. We spoke for a few hours. I don't want to share all of what we said because my chest hurts even thinking about it, and honestly, my mind is a bit foggy. But in the end, she reiterated that she wants to work towards reconciliation, but things would have to change drastically, and it will take a long time for us to get back to where we were. The one thing I will share, because I remember it very clearly over everything else, was I love you and I want to continue to love you, but you have to make it a little easier for me. So this is where we are. She is staying with a friend of hers, but will start spending more time at home, and slowly we will see how a new balance can be found. I'm hopeful in trying to manage it, but at least from my side, even before today, I read all of your comments and realized that is not who I want to be, not how I want to act, especially towards Amy. But I don't actually feel that angry anymore. My therapist is helping me a lot. The guy gives me homework for S sake. But I kind of like it. It feels a little strange to not do this with Seb, like I don't have a sounding board in therapy, but it isn't all bad. One day at a time, I guess. Thank you for both your support and wishes and kicking my butt when I needed it. Well, that was absolutely beautiful and heartwarming and sad and everything you guys and I expected it to be. I think that this is one of those stories that is really inspiring because it details grief and has so many different examples of how people are handling it. It details generational trauma. It details relationships and communicating and how everyone worked through it and it got to a better place. I'm not going to say that everything's fixed, everybody's happy, yay, happily ever after, because there is still damage that needs to be mended. But this could have gone in such a different direction had your family not come together and worked through it as a family and in individual therapy and just wanted things to get better. So I really applaud you. It is so hard to go to therapy. It's so hard to do it, not just individually, but with family. It's so hard to meet your grief and your trauma head on. And for anyone who's listening that has feelings of anger and sadness and they just feel heavy all the time, as someone who's been in therapy for a little while, I really encourage you to at least try. For a long time, I just told myself I couldn't do it because my insurance wouldn't accept it. And then I was like, you know what? F it. We'll see. And it turns out it's $10 a session. So I know that's not feasible for everybody, but at least try and see what you can do to move towards a better place. It's so good to have an unbiased party and people who are trained to help you. And don't be afraid to switch therapists if you don't vibe with the one you have, because that's a big part of it. But there is a relevant comment. Commenter says, so what about your mom's family? Where were they in all of this? Do they know how you guys feel now? No, P said, we haven't updated them, and TBH, we're not in any rush. They're not a priority right now. We still hang out with our cousins, but anything the adults need to know, my dad will share. I expect there will be a discussion at some point. So the top comment is, that therapist deserves every dollar, and I agree. That is, I feel like there's so many lessons that we all could take away from this story, so I really hope that you take something away from it. Again, it'll be linked if you want to dive in or read the full post, since a couple of them I summarized. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what types of episodes you want to hear more of in the future. I love you guys so, so much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow. I will catch you guys on Sunday with a whole new episode. That's pretty much it. Bye, guys. Love you.